Well, hey there, everybody. It's Chris from the Rate the Record podcast, and yes, I am back for a new music review. I know I haven't done one of these in a couple of weeks at this point because I've been doing live streams. I've been focusing a lot of time and energy on that, but I'm back to do this now. I decided just to switch it up. Why not? 4 new tracks, and I mean plenty of new tracks have come out since I've last done one of these, but I've picked 4 of them. I'm going to talk about them. I have opinions. I want to hear your opinions too. That's how this whole thing works, so why not just get started? And as I scooch on over this way, this is the perfect opportunity to remind you that if you like what you see and or hear today, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the actual YouTube channel. 2 very free, easy, and quick things to do to help support the channel. We're trying to grow, we're trying to get out there, we're trying to do all these things, and that's the best way that you can possibly help us do that. Like, subscribe, and also leave comments. The YouTube algorithm likes that kind of thing, so by all means, leave comments, say how do you do, musical opinions, why not, do all that. Thank you. So first up on the list today, we have the band The Decemberists, and they're an indie folk band out of Portland, Oregon, and their 9th studio album is due out in June, entitled As It Ever Was, So It Will Be Again, and they just released 2 tracks to tease the album. The first one was actually way too long to review. It was about 19 minutes long, so I said no thank you. I went for the shorter 4-minute song to review for today, and it's called Burial Ground. I guess this is technically part of the review, but it's also kind of a side note too that I can just let you all in on. As soon as I heard this track, I immediately thought that this sounds like something Savannah would have recommended to me already. And I mean, if she is indeed listening, if you're listening, I am recommending that you listen to this because I swear to God that you were the first person that came up in my mind when this song popped up. I have no idea if she watches these. I don't make her watch them or anything like that, but I digress. This actually feels like a good old school type of indie folk track, maybe even like early 2000s, not quite 90s, but we're in that borderline area, so hence why I thought Savannah for this track. It's a very jaunty and catchy song that we have here. It's got a very straightforward pacing to it, a very consistent flow to help you just kind of keep drifting through it and everything like that, so it's pleasant in that regard. Now, despite it feeling jaunty, though, it still does feel pretty flat overall. Other than a horn section that kind of occasionally pops into the track and gives it a little bit of life, there isn't much texture to this track, unfortunately. Granted, in this kind of style, it's hard to say what could have been added to it to give it that texture, but it just didn't catch me in the way that I was hoping. Overall, I'm not huge on it, but it's not a bad song, to be 100% honest. The production still has a very warm and inviting tone to it, but it just feels like the best way I could describe it is a stereo track being played through a mono speaker. I mean, we have life here, we just don't have a whole lot of meaningful substance to it, which is very unfortunate because, again, it does have that welcoming quality to it. I wouldn't go back to it, but maybe you'll like it more than me. I don't know, it's still pleasant enough, give it a try. Coming up next on the list, we have the Melvins, or just Melvins as it's actually called. They're a sludgy alt-metal band out of Montesano, Washington. I had to make sure I said that one right. They're in their 41st year of existence, and they are set to release their 27th studio album called Tarantula Heart. It's due out April 19th. 27 albums. I mean, that's a busy band, but I mean, the Melvins have always been a busy band as it is. And they just dropped their 2nd single, and that is what I'm checking out today, and the song is called Allergic to Food. So I'll admit right off the top, as I've done in the past with other bands that I've reviewed on this show, I'm not super familiar with Melvins. I've never really gotten into their catalog. I've heard like maybe a track or 2. I've heard things that other members of the band previously have done before, but never really gotten into their kind of sound and everything like that, their catalog, so I didn't know what to expect going into this one. I will say that for the most part, though, I wasn't disappointed. Just a lot of noisy chaos kind of just pushing itself all the way through this song. There's some straightforward heavy riffage with the drum beat going on absolutely crazy behind it, and then there's just like crazy hyper kind of guitar just doing weird noisy solo-y stuff between each brief vocal passage. There's just something in this song that's always assaulting you at every point. I will say the vocals are definitely something of an afterthought, not necessarily that that's a bad thing considering how noisy the song is. It's just kind of layered with a light distortion. It's very brief in its appearance. It kind of does a few lines, disappears for a bit, few more lines, disappears for a bit. So I mean, it just, again, feels like an afterthought, but how noisy it is and how it just kind of blends into the sound kind of adds to the whole chaos of the atmosphere. The drums are actually probably one of the more exciting parts of the song too. I mean, just regular during the instrumental passages, they're okay, they're just doing their thing, pushing on through. But then the crazy drum fills during the vocal passages are really exciting to me. They're definitely like filling the instrumental void very well, because most of the instrumentals disappear when the vocals kick in very briefly, so it's just a very good setup. I like it, and it keeps up that craziness. Overall, I will say that I do like this track. Granted, I will say that I don't think it's justified in being a 5-minute and 45-second song. Instrumental passage, brief vocal passage, instrumental, vocal, just that for 5 minutes and 45 seconds. No choruses, no bridges, no nothing, just straightforward, which could be fine if it's like a 3 maybe to 4 minute song. I think that would have been best suited to it, but I will say that it's not terrible. I enjoyed it. Give it a listen. Coming up next on the list, a band that I did not too long ago, but they just released a brand new single, so why don't I look at it? But I'm looking at Pearl Jam today, the, iconic alt-rock band, grunge band out of Seattle, Washington. They don't really need an intro beyond that because, it's Pearl Jam. Most people know who they are by now. But what you do need to know is that their 12th studio album, Dark Matter, is set to drop on April 19th, kind of like the Melvins album I just talked about a minute ago, and they just released the second teaser single to this one called Running. Two sides of me come out in this particular track. Part of me wants to rag on how, just generic rock this whole song sounds. Everything kind of feels like recycled riffs, even from different bands or different projects, that whole type of thing. But the other half of me is actually just really digging this track altogether. It's kind of like what I said when I reviewed their first single a little while ago. It's giving me that old school Pearl Jam feel, like the Vitalogy era type of feeling. And it's still on display here, so that's pretty exciting. The production is really clean all around on this one, and maybe I guess as a bit of a nitpicky thing that I could say, I think a bit of a more raw sound could have suited this one really well, especially with the sound and energy they're going for. But I guess when you have this much money and you're that rich of a band, why not put it to use and get the best production, right? Overall, it's a good song, and it's also short. It's just under 2.5 minutes long, so it doesn't take that long to get through it at all. It's not my favorite thing in the entire world, but so far I'm really liking what they are putting out for this new album. It sounds like it could be pretty interesting, a good return to form type thing, so you know what? I'm down for it. I can't wait to hear it, and what do you think about this? Are you excited for the new album? Do you like these tracks? Let me know. And finally on the list today, song number 4, we have the band Ministry, the legendary thrash metal, industrial metal band out of Chicago, Illinois, have just released a brand new single off their 19th studio album called Hoping for the Masses that just dropped back on March 1st. And I reviewed one of these singles off this new album, I should say, back in August, and that was Goddamn White Trash. Didn't have the most glowing review of it, but you know what? Spoiler alert, I just saw Ministry recently, and so I've been listening to a lot of them building up to that concert. And suddenly that song is stuck in my head all the time. I really like it. I think production-wise, I still feel the same way about it, but God, that is such a fun song. The album's fun, the band is great live, fantastic stuff. And so the song I'm looking at today is actually the final song on the album and another single that they've released from it. It's actually a cover of the 1980 Fad Gadget song, Ricky's Hand. Now, for a bit of contrast, I did listen to both, but I'm not going to review both. I just wanted kind of a contrast to see what was going on between the two. And I can tell you right now, it is a night and day difference between this one and the original. Not intensely different, but different enough. 80s synthwave industrial versus 2024 industrial kind of synthwave metal. I'm not even certain how to describe it. They both have a pretty good usage of that industrial sound and styling, but Ministry has a far more polished, expansive, and ultimately heavier version of this. There's a lot of pulsing electric energy in this song. You can just feel it from beginning to end. There's almost no reprieve in the entire thing. It's just go, go, dance, dance. That's kind of how it feels. Just a very pounding and fast style of beat mixed with the intense industrial synths, dance style synths to be specific, and occasional guitar chugs. There's a lot of life to this song. The only real reprieve that you get in this song between all the craziness and everything that's happening is actually in the bridges, and they do follow the choruses, so you obviously know when you can get them at the very least. I mean, it slows down, but it still feels very menacing. And also, I'm a fan of the synth sequencing that happens during the bridge as well. It's really cool. It adds a very new yet fitting sound to everything that's going on. So I really like it. I dig it. Overall, this one is a lot of fun. I will say that at the very least. Energetic, intense, super catchy, well worth your time. I would say check it out. And while I still have you here, I'll just slip a picture up right there. I did see Ministry live recently, and they actually closed out their show with this song. It's like, must have been like a second encore or something like that. I didn't get a picture of the whole stage, just Al and the hand here, but it was definitely Ricky's hand, so good show, good song, I like it. And that's all the time that I have for the new music review this week, so thank you very much for tuning in and checking it out and listening to these songs. And if you indeed did listen to these songs, you know that I want to hear your opinion just like I do every single week. So down in the comments below, I would like to see your opinion on these songs. Do you agree or disagree with any of the things that I've said? Do you like or dislike these songs? Whatever you gotta say, let me know, because I'm just always curious to hear it. And of course, YouTube, the algorithm, loves when you leave comments, so trust me, that definitely helps. And speaking of supporting us in one way or another, you can go to ratetherecord.ca, our website home base, ratetherecord.ca. It has changed up a little bit since you last saw it. It's no longer a part of certain domains. It's now in our link tree. That's where it leads. But regardless, you can still find everything there. Our streaming links, our social links, merch links. You can request an album for the podcast when that does indeed come back. Still date to be determined, but the idea is you can put in an album request and we could probably take a look at it for season 6. And also ko-fi.com/ratetherecord. That link is over there too if you feel like supporting the show financially. Completely optional, but the option is indeed there. So once again, ratetherecord.ca. Check all of that out and just be part of the community. Why not, right? In case you have missed anything on the channel over the last couple of weeks, obviously there's no podcast, I didn't do any NMRs. First off, I am planning another ILTS that should be out in another couple of weeks or so, hopefully if I can get everything on track properly. But what have I been doing over the last couple of weeks if you haven't noticed? Well, I've been live streaming. Rate the Record has officially started live streaming. It's not an all the time thing, but it's things I'm starting to plan out slowly. I did a live stream of ranking ugly album covers on how ugly they truly are. And then just last week from this point, I did a live stream of drawing musicians' portraits in MS Paint, and I am not an artist at all, so I mean, it wasn't going to be all that great. That was a really fun stream to do, so if you missed any of those, the VODs are up. You can go watch them. It was a great time, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and following our social medias, because I will be live streaming again in the future. I'm getting more ideas, things I want to do, and I want you to be a part of that. So once again, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following, and you'll know exactly when I go live. I'm done taking up your time now, so once again, thank you very much for hanging out and watching this video and listening to these songs. Until I see you again, go listen to some awesome music, be it today's music or whatever the hell you want to. Take care, friends.